Ric Bucher covers the NBA, and you know that. And Bukes has worked in the Bay Area for a long time, and I led the show last hour. One of my topics is, why is Steve Kerr getting so sensitive because a player that dumped him may take a podcast and a tweet wrong? I listened to the podcast. I listened to Steve Kerr's outrage, and I don't get it. Like, I think sometimes coaches in the NBA are just constantly walking on eggshells with players. But KD, we knew that KD, Kerr, and Draymond and Steph was a lot of work. We knew that, and Bucher now joining me live. So you explain to me, what did I miss here? Why is Kerr so sensitive about a podcast and a tweet? I went and listened to the podcast, and he came out and said, hey, last year was fun. We didn't win any games, but it was a great vibe.
Yeah.
And the last year with KD was not always a very good vibe. It was rough. Why is that? Why is he sensitive on that?
Because it puts Steve Kerr and KD and their relationship at the center of all the issues that the Warriors had in their last championship run. And the reality is that it was a struggle that last year. It was uncomfortable, and it was uncomfortable between Kevin Durant and the entire team. Something changed. He was aloof. He wasn't as connected. They sometimes questioned just how committed he was overall to the team. But the bottom line is that the dude forfeited a year attempting to win one more championship with them. So I believe it's like a lot of things. Look, we had a lot of issues. There's a lot of layers to what was going on. But to put the focus on Steve's relationship with KD, and the other part is anytime you begin to look at, like, you can't get along with a superstar player that's not named Steph Curry, then the question becomes, who are you as a coach? How relatable are you? What's your ability? And as the Warriors try to rebuild themselves, then it puts Steve in a difficult position as a guy who may have difficult relationships with superstar players. So I just believe that he looks at where they are and how he wants to be perceived. And the idea that he ran KD off or that he didn't like coaching KD is just a bridge too far for how he wants to be seen.
Well, then he shouldn't go on a podcast and say that. I mean, at some point, don't go on podcast and talk about it, right?
Yeah, but he didn't mention, here's the thing. He didn't mention KD by name. So maybe when that's inferred and somebody's purposely trying to say, I don't want to step in that, and then you go, you know what, I'm going to say you stepped in it anyway. Then it's a struggle because it's like, no, I purposely didn't want to make this about Kevin Durant and that last year, and you or a particular writer did it anyway. And so I'm going to object to that. And keep in mind where they are and who they're playing for. Owner Joe Lacob is just relentless in his demands. And that puts a pressure on everybody all the time. Shelved. Ultimately, it was clear they couldn't go for anything. But I tell you that right now, as they're making decisions, like, Joe is on them. He wants them in the playoff picture. He wants them seeded. He wants them constantly moving up. And I guarantee you that Bob Myers and Steve Kerr are looking at it going, we're not good enough to get there. We are better off holding fire with Steph Curry and with Draymond Green and not wearing them out to try to get to the 4th or 5th seed this year. Wait until we have Clay back. Let's be competitive, but let's not burn everything that we've got in order to be competitive this year. Joe Lacob has never been like that. I can't imagine that he's like that now. And so that'll wear everybody out eventually.
So do the Lakers need to make a move at the trade deadline? I mean, I can't see him dropping out of the playoff picture, but it is the West. What do you think they do?
Yeah. I just can't imagine that they're going to make a move that's going to make them better at this stage. The issue that they've had is trying to get a chemistry with all the new pieces that they added. And let's face it, we were all excited about it last summer when they added a Marc Gasol, and we thought they'd upgraded with Wes Matthews from Danny Green and Montrezl Harrell coming over and being that engine for the Clippers, imagining what he would be for the Lakers. And outside of Dennis Schroeder, their additions have not worked out. But the one thing they have going for them is a familiarity with those key pieces going into the playoffs, a confidence, a team that, in spite of all the things that don't feel quite right, was the number one ranked defense in the entire league.
Right.
Their best hope is that AD and LeBron come back healthy and that they can recapture that much the same way they did going into the bubble. That's their best shot, to try to refigure something or try to add a new piece now. It's another roll of the dice, and the last roll did not work out for them last summer.
So James Harden has really had a great year and deserves all the plaudits and credit. I have no problem saying I think he's a much more fun.
Man, do I feel a butt coming.
Yeah. But Kyrie now, again, is like, I'm going to miss some games. And I think to myself, listen, everybody can say nice stuff. Everybody can pretend that it's no big deal. But it's the second, third time. Aren't they a little concerned? A little?
With Kyrie?
Yeah.
For sure. It's why they went and got James Harden. Because if you'll recall, right before they made that deal, Kyrie was off and missing games, and some of it was protocol, but some of it was concern for social justice. I mean, nobody was quite clear on why Kyrie was gone and when he would be back. And so the feeling was, look, we've invested heavily in this season.
Right.
It's all a go. Let's go and get a second guy to play with KD so that, I mean, honestly, their thinking, what I've been told is their thinking was, we don't know when we're going to get Kyrie back or how much we're going to have Kyrie. Let's go and get another guy where we can still be competitive in the East, and maybe we can still run for it. And if Kyrie's here, great. But if he's not, we can continue to compete. So that was the thinking. So this is, I hate to say it, but this is kind of what the Nets were prepared for having happen.
Yeah. Is there any move that would happen at the trade deadline? Is there anybody that you think would make a move?
Speaking of the Warriors, Kelly Oubre is playing out of his mind. They have the highest salary cap as is. They have concerns that they'd be able to keep him. I could see him potentially being moved. It's not that they don't want to keep him. It's just they don't know if they can re-sign him or not. But the move that I would love to see, and I've heard some whispers about, is Lonzo Ball being moved. And where I'd love to see him end up is with the Clippers.
Yeah.
I don't know if this deal has been discussed, but I'd love to see Lonzo Ball flip for Lou Williams, be that point guard off the bench. Defensively, Lonzo Ball, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard would be magnificent to watch. I would love to see that. And I'd love to see Lonzo go back to L.A., playing for the other team, and potentially have the success that he didn't have with the Lakers. Because I think he's had a hard road. The kid has made himself into a great, or at least very good three-point shooter.
Yeah.
He's about the right things. I'd like to see him enjoy some success, and he would be a great fit with the Clippers.
That's actually a good one. That is a good one. You know what? It's funny. Lonzo is, I don't know what the numbers are in front of me, but the last two times I've watched the Pelicans, Lonzo has shot the three ball really, really well.
For sure.
Yeah, transformed himself. Ric Bucher, good seeing you, buddy. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.